Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by London Metal's Managing Director and CEO, Edmund Ainscough. Edmund, thanks for joining us today. So BHP has made its much anticipated decision on its Nickel West operations in Australia, suspending operations until at least 2027. You've responded to this. Can you take us through your response?
Yes, Stephen. Look, thanks for having us. Look, a big day in news yesterday in Western Australia. We responded this morning. In our particular case, the most relevant asset within the Nickel West portfolio is the Kambalda concentrator. They actually announced in February earlier this year that they were shutting the Kambalda concentrator when their only ore supplier, which is Wyloo Metals, Andrew Forrest's private company, was ceasing mining in May. Nickel West said they were going to therefore cease operations of the concentrator in June, and that has happened. So really yesterday's news for us was a positive. It was good to remove that uncertainty, not directly applicable to us, because as I say, the Kambalda concentrator, it was already shut. But as you know, capital markets hate uncertainty. Removing that uncertainty is definitely a positive for us. It's time to move forward. No more rearview mirror. Time to look forward and look forward to a future that doesn't necessarily involve that Kambalda concentrator or BHP.
I mean, Edmund, we've discussed this before, and you had previously said BHP's decision was the final piece in the puzzle for your nickel assets. So how do you move forward with your nickel assets now?
Look, we've spent 2.5 years saying that obviously the concentrator was the closest, most logical solution. BHP does have a right of first refusal on the ore from our tenements, from our nickel assets, and that dates back to 2001 when the assets were sold by the then WMC to Goldfields. So it was a logical partnership. It was close. It saved any capital. But obviously, headwinds started at the end of 2023. BHP, IGO companies, local companies in Australia have really struggled to compete with the Indonesian nickel. So we've had kind of 7 or 8 months kind of heads up as to start girding our loins for a life and a future without BHP. Today we announced that we've got a site on our tenements. It's the site of the old St Ives gold plant that used to be a WMC and then a Goldfields gold operation. The ROM pad, the tailings facility, all still there, surrounded by infrastructure utilities. So we've already started looking at the opportunity to potentially site a new requisitely sized modern float plant for our own ore and maybe other people's ore in the district that have also been potentially affected by the Nickel West news today. So for us, it's a positive. It's time to look forward. And certainly the thing about Kambalda that is so special is the grade, and this grade weathers any kind of nickel price cycle. So we're very confident our assets are robust, they're resilient, they're profitable, and if they need to, they'll be able to pay for a concentrator. And importantly, a modern concentrator that doesn't feed into a legacy set of assets run by BHP.
Edmund, we also previously spoke about your Foster South project being on ice at the moment. Does this trigger a resumption of activity at the deposit?
Look, it's positive news for us. As I said, it removes the uncertainty. I've said previously in interviews with yourselves and your colleagues, we've done all the nickel drilling we needed to do at Foster and Baker. We've got 95,000 nickel tons, quite shallow in the ground, very low capital cost to access. We didn't need to do any more nickel drilling. So we paused the nickel drilling, more really to do with our own strategy. Obviously, the nickel market sentiment didn't help. We weren't really getting rewarded for any of our nickel information. And we're certainly at 17.5 cents today and an enterprise value of about $16 million, not getting value for our nickel portfolio in our current share price. So no, it doesn't change the strategy. We're focusing on gold. The opportunity there is to put money in the bank quickly as opposed to keep depleting it. And we're unlike our peers, we're very robustly, we've got strong cash backing, and we're looking to preserve that and actually add to it.
Edmund, with BHP's Nickel West operation out of the picture at the moment, do you think that could trigger an improvement in the nickel price?
Well, look, it's obviously going to take nickel out of the market. You would think the supply demand would expect that to actually push the price up. The price is actually not bad, Stephen, to be honest. It really is the sentiment around the nickel sector rather than the price. And obviously, Indonesia's done an amazing job to go from nothing to a huge chunk of the world production. So I don't think the BHP news, it's staged. It's going to take them between 3 and 6 months down to shut fully. I don't think that will have a significant uptick on the nickel price. And as I say, it doesn't change our strategy regardless.
Yeah. In the meantime, Edmund, you've also released positive seismic survey data from the Long South Gap exploration program at Silver Lake Fisher. Could you touch on that for us, please?
Yeah, look, that's really exciting news. We spent a lot of money. We started that process in the middle of 2023. as we've discussed, the world has changed for nickel in the intervening time. It's been a very long process, a lot of technical work that needed to be done, and we've identified a potential new nickel channel. We're pretty excited about that. However, again, it doesn't really change our strategy. It's an expensive, large things, successful things often cost a lot of money, and to go and test that area right now is probably not in the best interest of either our cash balance or our shareholders, given, as I said, we're not really seeing value for our nickel portfolio, the nearly 100,000 nickel tons at 3% we already have. So it's really exciting. We've got the regulatory approval to go and drill there when we need to go and drill there, and we'll put that on the back burner, and we'll turn our minds to that very quickly when the nickel sentiment changes.
Edmund, I hope you'll keep us posted on any progress, particularly with the gold projects as you explore there. Thank you very much for updating us today.
My pleasure, Stephen. Thank you.
That's Lunnon Metals Managing Director and CEO Edmund Ainscough.